One. We're live. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Paul Golf Podcast and Audio Experience. We have another epic guest for you today. Another person that is being inducted into the Hall of Fame, the latest. Or the only Hall of Fame that you would ever want to get into is the Hall of Fame. So we're going to head over to Seattle in just a moment, or just outside of Seattle. We're going to talk to Amy Konvalin in just a moment about her experience, lessons learned in running and scaling a very, very successful business. So I'm very excited to talk to Amy in just a moment. We are live across Instagram right now. We're on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on LinkedIn, and we're live on something else. So God bless technology. It's amazing what we can do with all of these platforms right now. So thank you. If you are watching live, please share it out. If you're listening back on the podcast, thank you for your participation, and please be sure to follow us on all of the channels, because you can get to watch these things live, which I always think is great fun if you can join in live and ask a few questions. So we're going to get to the interview in just a moment. We have some good discussion points today to talk through with Amy. First, we've got some big events. I think we're on the eve of PPM Live UK. We are headed to London tomorrow. I brought my suitcase in today for the team to take down on the van, on the bus, with all of the stuff. So it's the eve of PPM Live London, the 3-day super conference happening in the centre of London in Kensington. We've got Americans have arrived. I got a funny story. So there's a guy called Jason Han who was physio at LAFC, and he runs an amazing clinic over in Los Angeles. And he flew in yesterday to London from LA, and he made his way up to Hartlepool, and obviously announced that he was heading up to Hartlepool at King's Cross in the south. And there was a gentleman in King's Cross who said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from LA." And he said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to Hartlepool." And this guy just looked at him and said, "Why? Like, what on earth? Why would you come from Los Angeles to come to Hartlepool?" Anyway, Jason Han is here, and I took him around the sites of Hartlepool last night. And what was funny this morning, this just sums up my life. I was driving to a coffee shop this morning around about 9:15, heading into work. And I saw this guy, and I thought, that looks like Jason. And I remember thinking, what the hell is Jason doing here? And I had just a moment in time where I forgot that he'd obviously come in for the event. But I looked at him and laughed, and he saw me and he laughed. And Jason was coming out of the coffee shop that I go to and have gone to every single day, which, by the way, Amy, was the coffee shop that I got Luke from, our senior mastermind coach, because I told Jason about this coffee shop. And I said I used to go in there every day, and that's how I kind of snagged Luke, if you like. And to see Jason coming out of it this morning at 9:15, I think he must have been on the phone to somebody he was texting or whatever he was doing. But it was such a weird moment. I can only explain it as that it was like a what the hell. And anyway, there he was. Jason was walking out of my coffee shop in Hartlepool, having been over from LA the day before. So we've got Jason Han coming in from LA. We've got one coming in from Miami. We've got Carrie coming in from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Paul Hendricks is coming in from Texas, and we've got Jamie Bouvet coming in from Colorado as well. So that's just 5 names that I'm sure will be very familiar to you, Amy, coming into London for the big event this weekend. We've got Robbie Fowler, who's a huge football player here in England, played for Liverpool in England. So we're excited for that. And it's not too late if you want to come. Get in touch, paul@paulgolf.com. We'll have around about 100, 110 businesses in the room this weekend. So we are excited for that. And then we head off to New Jersey, 29th and 30th. We fly to Newark for a big event at Jersey City. If you're interested and you're at that point of trying to scale your business, the event, again, will have around about 100 other businesses there. We'll focus on marketing systems, and we'll focus a lot on team development. If you're trying to scale your business, you've got to get across what we call the leverage line. Up and over that, the only way to do that is by marketing systems that don't rely upon the owner, and B, team, which means that the business doesn't rely upon the owner. So the whole focus across that weekend is on those 2 elements of your business, if you like. Details are at paulgolf.com/Jersey. Jersey. So we're going to be in Jersey City. And if you want to save the date for a future event, we've just announced, and I've just booked the biggest speaker, but I'm not going to tell anybody who that person is yet, for our PPM Live that will take place in Orlando 18th, 19th, and 20th of October, another 3-day super conference taking place in Orlando. So we're all over the world right now, meeting people face to face. We love it, and we just hope people come out and enjoy it as much as we do, and we get a chance to say hello and meet you face to face. There's thousands of people listening to the podcast every day. I always say we put these events on to make it easy for you to come and take the next step, if you like, and just be part of a community. It's not just about content. It's definitely not just about me. It's 100% about the people. Many of them you keep hearing on this podcast that have been with us for years and are growing incredible businesses. So maybe if this summer is the time, start your journey with us and get involved in the Planet Paul physical community rather than the online digital community, if you like. So right, that's housekeeping over. We're going to head over to the newest inductee, to the Hall of Fame. You're in the Hall of Fame, Amy. How does that make you feel? We're headed to Seattle. It's
honored.
early.
I feel like I
you're
should
in
have
the
a
Hall of
crown
Fame.
though, like a crown or something.
It will be in the post. It'll be in the in the mail after. So
Okay,
don't spoil the surprise. Lester will be
okay.
organizing something for you. So you are officially the third Hall of Famer.
Woohoo!
And the story came. I don't know if you know the story, but I'm going to keep telling it because I think it's brilliant and it shows you the power of good people around you. We've got an event in London, like I said, and they showed me the sort of setup of the event, and they said the staff go through here, and the attendees are going to have to walk through this corridor, this hall. And I said, I don't like that. I didn't like the logistics of it because it just felt cold and a bit like, I don't know. I just don't like the corridor that they have to walk through to get to the main room. So somebody in my team said, I think I said, why don't we put some posters up of the successful members that have been with us for a few years? And I thought that would be quite inspiring and quite a nice welcome. And, you could then go and talk to that person because you recognize their face and start a conversation. But then the genius came from somebody in my team, Grace, who said, we could call it the Hall of Fame. And I said, I like that. And then from that spawned a podcast, T-shirt, articles in magazines, and various other things that are happening now. So you're on the Hall of Fame because of Grace in my office, who came up with a brilliant idea. So there you go. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. So over to you. Tell us about your business then. Tell us where you are. Tell us the type of business that you've got, how long you've been in business. Just give us the backstory.
So we are located outside of Seattle, Washington. So we're in Maple Valley, technically, which is about an hour outside of Seattle. Physical Therapy for Everybody opened almost 8 years. We're about to have our 8-year anniversary. And we are in the middle of kind of pivoting everything and really focusing on our target niche, which is helping women with aging bodies to be able to move like they are 25 again.
I love it.
So the origin story is unlike any you've ever heard before. It's so different and shocking in that my boss called me into his office one day.
I love these stories. Yeah.
And I had gotten a job in Maple Valley. So I used to be working about an hour from home, wanted to work close to home, got a job in Maple Valley, interviewed for 6 hours with this gentleman because I was very clear about who I am and what I do, how I treat, and how I want to continue moving forward. And he felt like it was a great addition to his practice. And apparently it was for 26 months until he called me into his office. Mm-hmm. And it was very much the traditional, you need to see more patients, you need to use a text, you need to use the A's, the ultrasound, the E-stem, all the things that we're seeing in the traditional PT model right now. And I said, I need to discuss my exit strategy. And he said, did you just quit? And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, do you want to talk to Matt about it first? And I said, no. He said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to go open my own practice. And he's like, well, you're not going to be able to treat the way you want to and take insurance. And I said, you're right. And he said, you're never going to make it as a cash practice. So, here we are almost 8 years later, still alive and still growing and developing and hiring. So I think I've made it. Pretty happy with what I've created and the people that I'm able to serve. The fact that we're able to offer something different.
The story is becoming more and more familiar, that people's opportunity presents itself out of some kind of adversity and some kind of setback in the job, the 9 to 5, the sort of, is it the Dolly, did Dolly Parton sing 9 to 5? Is it Dolly
She
Parton?
did.
Let's
Yeah.
call it the Dolly Parton life, right?
Uh-huh.
Sheena Easton. Sheena Easton was 9 to 5 as well, wasn't she? It's testing my musical knowledge. The sort of adversity that people find themselves in is causing the opportunity to present itself faster than I think many people would. Do you know what mine is? I don't think I've ever told this. Do you know my story? It's actually exactly the same. So I was physio for a football club, a soccer club here in the northeast of England, a team called Darlington, and I'd been with them for 4 years, and the deal that I had with the original chairman was that I could accept a pay cut, but I would finish early in order to start my own little side hustle, my own side, my own business, so I could make more money on an afternoon. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to get paid as much in the salary from the club, from the team, but I can make a bit more because I finish early and I can see patients, right? That's fine. And then a new chairman came in and a new manager in year 4, I think it was. And at the end of the season, they said to me, you can stay, like, with, every time a new manager comes in, they're always reshuffling the pack and firing people and stuff. And he said, you can stay. He said, but we need you to work till 4 or 5 o'clock now instead of 2 or 3 or whatever it was. But we're not paying you any more money. And I said, like, no chance, I'm out, right? So I quit, basically. And they backed me into the corner. It was like, you either have to go and treat your patients. And I remember they were concerned that I was more interested in treating patients than I was in treating their players. And part of me at the time, I think I'm 27 at this point, I'm thinking, but you're probably right. I think you've probably sussed me out, actually, and it's time to go. But I often think, would I have left had I not been forced into a corner? I don't know if I would have gone. I think I would have stayed 1 or 2 more years, and then who knows what would have happened after that. But it was the same situation where I was almost forced, backs against the wall, and it's like, right, I'll show you mentality, and off you go and do it. So tell us a bit more about the business then. Staff model, fully cash pay now, like what's happening, people coming through the business, marketing systems, all those types of things. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we are fully cash pay. We always have been. I decided if I needed to take insurance, that I was going to close the doors, because I don't choose to work in that model personally, and have insurance companies tell me how to treat patients when they don't have a degree. So it's fully cash. We initially started out, obviously, with physical therapy, because it's physical therapy for everybody. And that was me. Remain the only physical therapist right now, although we are trying to hire. So if you're listening and you live in the Maple Valley area, this sounds good to you, give me a call. Never waste an opportunity.
I love it.
So we have a front desk, Farah, who's been with me for 2 years on and off, and we just hired an ops assistant. So she is going to be kind of doing all the things that are spilling off of the plate, really. Right now, we have a stretch therapist who works a couple hours a week, and we are looking to bring on Pilates as well. So our goal is really, and always has been in the end, to create more of a wellness center. So a place where people could have a variety of services offered all under one roof. So we're looking for space for that. We're looking for staff for that. And we're looking to move into that.
What was behind that then? Because I think it's very smart. We've been talking about that for quite a while now in the mastermind program. Where did you get okay, I need to start thinking about wellness rather than physical therapy. I need to think about stretch, and I need to think about Pilates as being part of my program. Where did that come from? Was it because of the type of patient, or is that just the area that you want to go into naturally? It's more profitable or easier to find? What caused that?
It's kind of an evolution. It's kind of when everything came together. So naturally, that's where I've always wanted to be. Before I even opened the business, that was my where I was headed, was more of that wellness. Like, I want it to be a place where a woman can come and get away from her children and just be taken care of, and have everything available to her. So that's always been what I've wanted to create. It definitely, like, the stretch and Pilates has definitely been a lot of seeing other people in the community having success with that, as well as exposure to that. So it's been kind of that too, of like, hey, like, that's actually a really great thing to be able to add, and also maybe a lower price point or a more convenient option for people to enter into my world. So trying to create multiple ways for people to come in, because I know it can be difficult with the prices we charge, but also just with the whole model we have, it can be difficult for people to understand how are you different? Like, why would I do this? And so sometimes if you can just kind of come into my world and be like, oh, okay, like you can see, smell, feel everything once you come in.
I think I just wrote down there as well. If you're trying to get to my experience of this, by the way, has been if you're trying to get a lady to come to your office without her kids, you're probably going to need to put a hairdresser in there because my wife Natalie, the only place she goes without those kids is the hairdresser. So I'm just an FYI, that's my experience of it. There's nowhere else. But if it's the hairdresser, like anybody will babysit our kids. Like there could be a man walking along the street, and if she needs to go to that hairdresser's, that man is asked if he can babysit my 4 kids. So I just wonder if that might be a little tip for you to put in your clinic as a way of attracting a lady to the clinic without the kids. And then when we're in there, we'll get them on the stretch tables and all of those types of just putting it out there. But I think on a serious note, the pivot or the evolution, and I love it because if you stay in business long enough, I've learned this, it's normally about 5 years, 5 or 6 years, things start to evolve and they go past and beyond or are different, something that we couldn't have imagined when we first started the business. You and I, you started 8 years ago. There's no way that you could have predicted the landscape, even though there might have been some obvious constriction in insurance, and everybody knows that. But the way that the world has gone, and through COVID and the inflation and interest rates and economic turbulence and all of these types of things, it makes it almost impossible. I think if anybody's got the same model 8 years in from when they started the business, they're probably losing money because they're so romantic to what they wanted when they started the business. And I think that's very admirable what you've done, because people start the business and it's, I need to be right. I started the business and my mind was, I'm going to run a successful insurance paid business. It's okay. Well, 12 years in, how's that going, Dave? Well, it's still not there yet. And I've got 2,000 visits a week, but we're still not profitable. Okay. You think another 100 visits a week is going to get you profitable? Probably not. But why did they do that? Because when they started the business, that was the vision that they had. And what I find is very difficult, and I've tried to kick a few butts quite hard recently, is that it's even difficult moving people from being and thinking of themselves just as a provider of PT. In that you go to a coffee shop where Jason was this morning, my coffee shop, they're selling me a cake, they're selling me breakfast, they're selling me toast, they're selling me tea, fruit juice, water, like all sorts of stuff, but it's a coffee shop. There's a reason for that, because the customer probably wants to buy more than one thing in that area. So I think it's a very smart move that you've done. And I do wish more and more people would put aside their own, sometimes bias is what I find. I don't think stretch works. Well, newsflash, right? Thousands and thousands of people do. So you can either fight against them or you can work with it. Like, what are you going to do? So you're going to be right and poor, or wrong and rich. That, like, there's no other choice, right? You can be right, but you're probably going to end up poor, right? Like, do you get me staunch? Like, I need to be right. Well, great. You were right, but you're still poor. Or we can probably be wrong in what we thought about what people might buy and what healthcare should be, and how we kind of were led to believe a physical therapy practice should look like 8 years ago. We can be wrong about all that, and we can be rich. Which one do you want, Amy? Which one would you rather have?
Yeah, I'll be wrong all day long.
I'll be wrong. I'll be wrong and rich any day of the week. Absolutely. In fact, get me a hat. Wrong but rich. Right? Wrong but fucking loaded. Like, I'd much rather have one of those hats than the other 99% of the planet walking around with it. I need to be right, but I can't put the heating on a night because I've got no freaking money. Now, generally, that's generally people's problems. They've just been they staunchly believe in something that doesn't work. And now I admire the passion behind the belief around something. I do. But if we took that same passion and energy and put it into something that actually made some money, God, what a difference! What a difference your life could be. So tell us now then about your business. We're moving into stretch. What's been the biggest lessons? Let's go into that. A couple of one or two big lessons you've learned since you've been in business over 8 years. Share us one or two of your best.
Definitely my biggest is I need help.
Yeah.
That is by far my biggest. I was the person who was like, I'm just gonna, hang out my shingle and everybody's gonna come because I'm a really good PT. And my initial goal was just to replace my salary. And I was like, once I replace my salary, like it'll be fine. And
Yeah.
I did that 2 years in, and it was great. And then I was just like, well, okay, now I've done that, and that's great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. But what else is there? So, yeah, definitely that I needed help, that I needed staff, that I needed systems. Well, I still need systems. That's currently our focus right now.
Good.
And that I needed coaching and how to actually start a business, because shockingly, I didn't know anything about that.
I think your story is very typical in that most people's original goal is simply to replace salary.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this job here. I don't like the circumstances of it. I'll go do my own thing and I'll get my 80, 100, whatever it is, grand a year working for myself. Great. Now, at this point, I think where people are, they get trapped as a profitable solo practitioner running a business. So I'm a profitable solo practitioner with a LLC or a limited company in England or whatever it will be, right? So I've got the responsibility of the business and the taxes and the rent and the rates and all these types of things. But it's just me at this point. So I should be profitable. Unless I'm a very, very bad PT and my clinical skills just aren't good enough, I should be a profitable solo practitioner. The hardest bit is that next jump, is that crossing the leverage line, like I spoke about at the start, where I might have to take a little bit of a pay cut because I need to invest in the systems. I need to get the people. I need to upgrade my thinking and the coaching, and I need to hire a few frogs before I find the prince or the princess, if you like, to get to that point. But that's the journey that ultimately we're all going on. And I think what takes time, and I think you've got there now and are possibly past it, is the upgrading and the thinking that my original goal was the salary. Okay, great. My new goal is salary plus time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can get the salary. That's never going to be, in your case, it's never going to be a problem to make the money, right? Because you're a very, very good skilled practitioner with a skill set that people have a need for. So we're never going to have a problem with you being profitable and having a good salary. The new goal becomes, the new currency becomes time. How do I make the same money, but afford myself the freedom of 20 hours a week to be here, there, or 6 weeks in the summer, or a month at Christmas, whatever it is I want to do moving forward. So tell me about some lessons you've learned on that track, on that journey, about crossing this leverage line. People.
It's people.
Any bad experiences with people?
More than one. Yeah, more than one. I've definitely learned a lot. I have come so far in my interviewing skills, in my knowledge of people skills, but that really is why we did the newest hire, is because it was time. I mean, yes, I'm making great money. My profit margins are amazing because I am the only one treating. I mean, I have a stretch therapist, but I'm the only PT treating. And I'm also the one who does, creates all the marketing, writes all the emails, all the blog posts, like everything.
Yes.
So it was like, okay, this is, at this point we're in a marathon and I can't keep running. So that's where we sat down and really said, okay, what is it that needs to go off the plates for both me and my front desk, and created this new position. And it's funny because it's right now it's a part-time because she just started. We're just getting her trained up and everything. And she really wants full-time. And I said, listen, the only problem with you getting full-time is how much and how fast can you take things off my plate? Because every time you take something off my plate, it's going to make me realize that there's something else that can come off of my plate, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing that I don't have to be doing right now. And so
give me some examples, because there's somebody listening to this who is stuck. Same situation. I love these interviews because people find themselves in what you're doing. Help somebody understand what it is that is consuming your time, that's stopping the business growing. Give me some specific examples of things that you probably shouldn't be doing.
So the three big things that we are giving to her to start with is one, to figure out how to build out funnels so we can move forward, because we just don't do that. We don't use our marketing as much as we should. The second thing is to master that initial phone call. So really understanding the objections, getting people who are our people, who are motivated to come in, and having the time for that. Because right now my front desk has to do that along with everything else she has to do. So this position is going to be, hey, you need to take a half hour. You've got a half hour. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is to work on the marketing aspects. So there's research that she could be doing. There's scripts that she could be writing. She can be helping me upload. She can be helping me, post on YouTube. So there's a lot of things that are just kind of, obviously I have to do the videos, but there's a lot of steps in between that I don't have to be doing. And that's what I started to realize. And I think it's a perspective shift, right? Is when you start saying, okay, what could I take off my plate and what do I have to keep? So I have to treat the patients. I'm the only PT in the clinic. I have to treat the patients. I have to film the videos because I'm the one who knows the thing. But do I have to write the script to the video? Do I have to upload the video? Do I have to post the email, or do I just have to write the email? And then eventually, do I even have to write the email? But yeah, so it's really, it really was just more of a mental shift of saying, wait, what could I give away? And all of a sudden it's just more and more and more. Every time I think of something, I'm like, I'm holding back right now to give her stuff because I need her to get trained up properly. But every time I think of something, it's just something else falls out too. I'm like, oh, that too. Oh, that too.
$1 million question then. What are you doing with your time that's more valuable?
That is $1 million question. Honestly, the initial thing is taking care of myself.
Yeah.
That really is it. I am working too many hours right now, and I'm feeling the burnout. So I'm hoping, well, I know that once I take better care of myself, the creativity will flow, and then I'll come up with new projects and ideas and things I want to do. And, we'll move forward from there. But the initial thing is I need to take care of the apple tree.
Highly leverageable activities is where you want to be. When you move from tasks, things like blog posts or sending emails, writing emails and overseeing the campaign is hugely highly leverageable. But the actual tactical updating of the CRM or the blog or the website or whatever, social media included, it's so far beneath your pay grade. And I mean that respectfully, it's so far. And that's what happens. People end up thinking they can answer the phone, they can do the social media, they can do the funnel, they can do the website. I remember talking to somebody once. It was like social media, and then I do the website, and then I do the funnel, and then the kicker was, and I do the bank reconciliations at the end of the week. And I was just like, is this a joke? Like, what how are you still alive? Like, how is your brain not blowing up at this point? And you genuinely think you're going to grow the business? We're not. But a highly leverageable activity, you can leverage people, you can leverage systems. But I was also taught that you can leverage thinking time. And thinking time comes in the form of that rest and rejuvenation, where you're genuinely involved in activities that are stimulating, that are inspiring, that are motivational. I just wrote about this. Well, I write about it a lot in the Planet Paul magazine that I send out every month. It's so important for a business owner to latch onto those things, and rather than being a sort of self-created victim almost of their own time famine and their own incessant need to do everything, I have significantly more respect and applause for somebody who goes, that's not my job. I'm not touching that. I'm not picking that up. I will not change that light bulb. I won't do that. I'm not carrying that. I'm not taking that there. I won't even wait for staff at an airport, right? You can call me whatever you want. If I'm through that airport, I'm fucking gone, right? And I had an argument with somebody, not an argument, but I told one of the staff. I was like, just to let you know, when we go to New York, because there's a few of us on the flight, I said, I've got TSA. I am not waiting at JFK for you. Like, I will see you at the hotel. Like, do not expect me to be in that. I said, I've been on an 8-hour flight. I'm getting up the next day to do a big seminar. I'll be in bed 20 minutes before you. That's how important it is to me. And it looks like it's arrogance, and it looks like it's above yourself, and it looks like all of these things that most people would never be able to understand, but it's actually the right thing to do. Like, because like you said, you're the apple tree. You are the fountain of youth, in essence. You're the machine, you're the asset, you're the $1 million spitting out of over the next however many years. We've got to get Amy to generate millions and millions of dollars for her family. When you think about it like that, you are a machine, assuming you live, God willing, until however 65, 70, 80 and beyond, right? Another 20 years in business. You're going to generate millions of dollars. can we start protecting you like $1 million asset? And that was a mindset shift that I needed, that I realized that, and this was a few years ago, it happened to me, that I had to focus on more time for myself, places that I wanted to be at, events that inspired me, walks, traveling alone, reading alone, walking alone, exercising alone, whatever it will be, just places and things that give me a chance of arriving at work with a clear frame of mind, with more energy than I have to have more energy than anybody around me. Period. Everywhere I go, it's another one of those like a standard in my life. I have to have more energy than you. Like even as I'm on this podcast, I have to have more energy than you. And when I'm at a seminar, I have to have more energy than everybody in the room put together. And when I'm at work, I have to have more energy than all of my staff put together. When I'm talking to clients or customers or anybody that I'm in contact with, I realize very early, if I just have more energy, I've probably got more chance of delivering on what people wanted in terms of the value or how they feel or their outcomes, whether it's a physio, whether it's a marketing company, whether it's seminar speaker, whether it's an author. If I bring that energy, and my goal is to have more than the person that I'm sort of interacting with, not in a powerful or a better way, just in a that's my standard. I know that the interaction that I'm having with those people or that person will be significantly better for all of us. But I can only do that if I take care of myself in terms of my sleep or what I eat or the gym or whatever. Some sacrifice is not seeing the kids because I'm in the gym on them or whatever. Like there has to be something like that. And I think not enough people respect that. And I think it's sad, but I don't see it changing either because there's so much guilt around it, and society reinforces sacrifice. It reinforces missing out. It glamorizes a lack of sleep. It glamorizes never being on holiday. You've heard me rant about these things before. That I love America, but the thing I don't like is the idea that people think it's cool not to have vacations. Like that just fucking blows my mind. That's even a thing. I mean, I'm from Europe where like 7 weeks, like everyone's off. Do you know what I mean? It's like go to Spain or we go to Tenerife or we go to whatever. I'm off to Portugal next week after my events. Like my work's done. I'll see you on the beach. Like call me from Portugal. But that's my mindset. I want to do both. I just have to figure out how to get it. So tell me about, I'm going to ask you this. A little dicky bird told me that you just bought a beach house.
Not just bought a beach house, but 5 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that you said that you thought that only rich people ever bought beach houses.
That's what I was told by my parents.
So does that mean you're a rich bitch now? Can we call you
I think a lot of people think so.
I fucking love it. And I absolutely love it. Next time you come to one of my events, Lester, note to self, can we get a ribbon for Amy underneath her badge, please? Rich bitch, aka rich bitch. We need a mention of this at every event moving forward. You come to New Jersey? Are you in New Jersey?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, I'll have something for you.
Okay.
Lester, ask me after this podcast over. I'm gonna have something for Amy. But again, isn't it funny, right? And this might be a good conversation. Isn't it funny that we're allowed to believe from an early age that only rich people have beach houses? You hear that at 7-year-old or 8-year-old and 9-year-old. It's like you've excluded yourself almost from ever getting one because you just think, I can't do that. I'm not from a rich family. My parents have said that only the rich get those. Oh, wow. Like, unfortunately, that's how millions and millions and millions of people are raised around the world. Was that kind of how it was with you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was born and raised in Northern California, so went out to Santa Cruz, Monterey, Carmel, all these really nice beach areas, and we'd drive along the beach and see the houses, and it was very much. I come from basically a blue collar family, and it was just the rich was bad. It was they didn't earn it. And it was just like, oh, okay, well, like you wouldn't want that because that would mean you're kind of a bad person. And so drove out to this town called Seabrook in Washington. And as soon as we drove up, I told my husband, I was like, we need to buy a house here because it's a good investment. One, I want one. Two, it's a good investment. And so 2 years later,
one being the most important, by the way.
Yes.
That you want it. Again, the mindset of the world that we've all been to, buy it because it's a good investment. no, that's again, you're trading guilt. Why don't we just buy it because you want the fucking thing and you want to enjoy your kids there and you want to have fun there and you want to watch movies there and you want to wake up and go for a walk there? Why don't we just buy it because we want it and not have to always, oh, it's a good investment for the future and it'll be good for the kids' inheritance? Like, fuck all of that. Like, let's enjoy it today because that's the point of going to work.
Exactly. So yeah, 3 years later, after I said that, I walked into my brand new house that was fully furnished, and I would say for anybody who has something like that it would be so meaningful. It destroyed me. It in all the best ways. Like, I walked in and everything I thought about myself, everything that I thought I was capable of or would have in life, like, it was gone. I was just like, this is the game on. Let's go. And that was actually in October of 2019. So it was a great moment to have right before March 2020, because now I've just bought this beach house and COVID kicks off. And I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. So it definitely, if there's anything like that for you, I would definitely encourage you, do it when it's, I understand financially responsible and everything, but do it, because talk about the mindset shift. Just at that point, it literally destroyed everything I had heard.
What do you mean by that? All of the sort of false beliefs that you
all the false beliefs.
It just smashed all of those. Yeah.
It just smashed. Yeah. Because I didn't care anymore. I didn't care that that's what my parents thought. I didn't care that that's what people were going to say. All that mindset, it was gone from me. And it also the guilt and shame that went along with it.
So how did you get to that point then?
Walking into my beach house.
Just getting inside of it. That was it.
Yeah. It's obviously the process of going through that, right? It was a process of being like, oh my gosh, we're going to buy a house, and getting the money together. So there was a lot of steps, because we bought a new house. So it was a year that it took to build it. So there was a lot that happened during that time, applying for the loan, all the different steps that you go through. But all of those culminated in that moment of buying it. And I remember I was kind of lightheaded, not because I was concerned, but I was lightheaded when I walked in, because it just exploded all those false beliefs and made me really say, so wait, if I believe that and that's not true, what else is not true? And so what else am I willing to reconsider? And so, that's really been it for the past 5 years of just like, really looking at those false beliefs, looking at, and, you've brought up a lot of stuff during different conferences and podcasts and stuff that I've been like, oh, wait, hold on. I need to think about that. But instead of coming from kind of a closed mindset, because I have already established that false belief and that's what I hold on to, it has opened my mind of being like, how do I use that in my life?
Yeah.
So I remember at a conference you talked about, it was in Vegas, not this past year, but the year before, you talked about your home. Yeah. And where do you go back to? And I was thinking about it on the flight home, and I got home and I told my husband, I'm like, so my home is responsibility.
Yeah.
I take care of things. I want to move.
I was just going to say, let's get the for sale sign up. That sounds like a boring place to live, Amy.
It really is. It really is. But again, it's that mindset shift. And instead of being like, well, that's fine for Paul, or Paul gets to have fun or whatever, I was just like, wait a second, hold on. What does that mean for me? How do I integrate that? Wait, I don't like where I am. And it's a process, right? It's a process of having to go through that. But I do think walking into my beach house really opened up my mind to your life can be different.
Yeah, it's amazing. I wrote about this in the Extraordinary Achievement book, and I don't know if people thought the story was true, but it was 100% true. Early on, I said, I think chapter 2 is about money and false beliefs around money. If you haven't read it, if you're listening, if you haven't read it, Extraordinary Achievement, you can get it on Amazon, and it's a book entirely about what we're talking about here, really, which is the false beliefs around what it takes to be successful. And I remember, true story, a friend of my son's came into the house at 9-year-old and said, Harry, you guys are the nicest rich people I've ever met. All the other rich people are nasty, right? And I was like, I didn't hear it. Natalie told me on the night. She came and she said, did you hear what I won't say his name. Do you hear what this boy said today? And I said, no, tell me. And she said, Barry said he said this. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I have a few thoughts. Number one, how many rich people has he met? And number two, the most important question, at what level does his mother define rich? Like, who is she to define that you're rich if you have this much money or that much money? And when you start to unpick the stupidity of people, and I mean that respectfully, you start to unpick the stupidity of these beliefs and these throwaway comments. Who is she to decide at what level you're determined rich? And that led to chapter 3 in my book, which was ultimately the difference between somebody at $1 million versus somebody at $500,000 or $2 million versus $1 million isn't necessarily greed like the government or the press or politicians want you to believe. I believe it's curiosity, in that I want to see what it's like to live in a beach house. I'm curious enough to go, I wonder what it would be like to wake up once a month in a beach house or a house in the woods, in the lakes, in the mountains, whatever it would be. I'm curious enough to wonder what that might be like. And then I'm going to backtrack and work out what I need to do to go and let that curiosity become a reality. And for most people, for most quote unquote rich people who are usually, it's just rich is just somebody a level above they are. And that's all you ever find. It's, oh, they're rich. We've got a bit more money than us. Oh, they're rich. And it is you're evil, you're nasty. And what I'd said in the book was that ultimately parents do that to protect their kids because and this was the sad part about it. Parents protect their kids from the disappointment of never being rich very early. The parent has already decided that 9-year-old will never be rich. So let's protect them now from any disappointment. But what are the parents really doing? Absolving themselves. They feel bad at the idea that their kid will never be rich. So if I can stay in the rich, I'll never have to face my kid who'll never be able to say to me or never will say to me, Mom or Dad, it's your fault that we're not rich. They stay in the rich quite early so that there is a lack of or an avoiding of disappointment later in life when there's an inevitability to not being rich. The parent doesn't want that responsibility, so they just take it off the table by saying, hey, the rich are all nasty. You don't want to be like them anyway, son. Come and suffer over here with us. We'll live in misery, but at least we'll be, at least we won't be rich. And sadly, that cycle continues, election cycle after election cycle, year after year, month after month, that there isn't a chance of any of this changing because the mindset and the beliefs, which ultimately configure people's actions and get people to take action, that'll never change. So what you've said there is incredible. And the home thing, just to bring people into that, it was after Xander was born, wasn't it? And I had a few rough months, obviously, after he was in intensive care and all sorts of shit was going on. And it was like, okay, like I can stay and be worried, or I can stay and be sad, or I can be miserable, or I can be all of these things, or I can just go back home, right? And home was, for me, home is playful. Home is fun. And that's where I like to live. I've got a room of responsibility in that home of playfulness, right? There's a room there out the back, as far away as possible, right? But it's there. But ultimately, the home that I choose to live in is not in Orlando. It's not in England, where I am now. It's not in anywhere I might buy further down the line. Portugal, wherever. I love Portugal. It's a playful home and it's a fun home. And that's what my default is. I go back to playfulness. And whenever things start to kind of get a bit, I don't like this, just go back home, Paul. Just go back to laugh. Go back, put stupid movies on with your kids. Go back home and watch kids' TV. Go back home and play on the floor. Go back home and fight with your kids in a playful kind of way. And I think if everybody understands that, it's much easier. But you said something, and I wrote it down. You said a wonderful thing that tells you how far you've come, and I'm giving you this as such a accolade for you. I could stand on stage in front of 1,000 people, and I could tell the same thing to everybody in the room about I go to a playful home, or I live like this. 9 out of 10 will go back on the flight and go, that's okay for Paul. That's all right for him. He's this, he's the other. He's got this business. He's got this, he's got the other. They'll make assumptions, wild assumptions about what I've got and what I've got access to. 1 out of 10 will take ownership of it and go, actually, where I choose to go back to tonight is a choice. And although I've lived in a home that's full of responsibility, and that's been my identity, I've changed my mind, and I want to live in a home that's playful, that's fun, that's light and bright and airy, right? And all of a sudden, these images go in your head, and you think, I could live there, and I'd like to live there. Okay, why don't you live there? Now, it might not be the exact physical circumstance that you want at this point, but once we change the view of it and we change the way we think about ourselves and the what we're capable of and how we want to live, all of a sudden actions start to kind of follow suit. And I think that's such a big thing for people to grasp, that ultimately every single one of us has a choice in how we want to feel, where we want to live, how we want to play. And my experience has been that you get that playfulness, you get that looseness, you get a little bit more freedom, you break a few rules, you live life how you kind of always wanted to, you get a flair, you get more energy, and boom. And that's in the end what people want, always have, always will. Couple of last questions before we go. So how long have you been around me now? 4, 5 years? 5?
4 years in Mastermind, but I did Rapid Action Boot Camp the year before that.
So which year did you do that? Where was that at? New Orleans, or was that in Vegas?
That was in Vegas.
Vegas. That would have been 2018, 2019, 2018. God, it's amazing. Again, that's why I love doing these podcasts, because the depth of the sort of story, the journey that we've got with people is, I'm very proud of it, by the way. I'm very proud of it. And it probably is something that we should talk about a lot more, the longevity, if you like, of the relationships that we've got with people. So in that time, I'm going to ask, what is the best thing that you've learned from me and the teachings, if you like, that's helped you? What would you say it is? How have we been able to help you shape your view or your business skills? What would it be?
Oh, it's got to be mindset. It's my mindset has shifted in 180 degrees. Doesn't even seem like enough. And I used to be a very rigid thinker, and just the flexibility in my thinking, the not letting things go from black to white. It's been all about mindset, and I'm definitely, that's been the fun part of the journey. I mean, honestly, it's changed not only me, obviously it's changed legacy. It's going to change my children and how they're going to move through this world, because it's just these ideas and these concepts. It's not how I was raised. I was raised much like everybody else in very traditional thinking. And so it's really just opened up my mind. So when my, youngest says, well, she said a while ago, well, I'm not going to work a corporate job in 20 years. And I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And she's like, well, I'm going to have built my empire by then. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. But why aren't you starting today? Why aren't you starting to build your empire today? Like, what does that look like? Like, and maybe you don't want to build it today, and that's fine too. But like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, well, don't get your hopes up too high. Like, you'll probably still have to have a at least a part-time job for safety and security. I'm like, dude, 20 years, you got a long time, girl. You're definitely not going to be working a corporate job in 20 years.
I love it. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And when we are at the events with you are, and again, we've got some fantastic clients, but you've got such an energy and a radiance. We do love having you at our events, and we can feel that, by the way. Even this podcast, I'm sure people can feel it wherever they're listening to it, whether it's on a treadmill, on a plane, or whatever it is. You've got a wonderful energy, wonderful spark, a wonderful vibe. We always look forward to seeing you, and it's incrable. Was it the last event you got the Business Genius Award as well? Was it the last one in Vegas? Yeah, a little bit of a surprise for you?
Oh, big. Like, literally, I am very rarely speechless. I was like, I really don't know what to say. I really did not think, I did not think it was me.
What we did notice, and this is where I thought, oh, this Amy's is a wild one. We give her an award on stage and a bottle of champagne, and less than 3 minutes after she got the award, she walked out of the room. And I looked at Luke, and I remember thinking, like, I wonder where she's going with that champagne. So, was it nice? Was it nice?
It was so good. It was so good. We had
that sounds expensive, so I'll have to have a word with finance.
Yeah, I know, they keep going, you guys.
Okay.
We had our water bottles with us, so we actually went and opened
it,
poured it in our water bottles, and got in the Uber and went to the airport.
You rule breakers. Look what I've done. I've turned you all into criminals. You're getting in Ubers and on flights with water bottles loaded with champagne. That is a turnaround. And do you know what? This could be one of my proudest moments. This is almost like one of my kids telling me that they got into trouble at school for breaking some stupid rule that didn't matter in the first place. Where I'm a proud dad because I have rule breaking kids. This is a proud dad moment, if I'm allowed to say it, that Amy stuffed champagne in a water bottle on the flight. So there you go. You've come a long way.
Thank you.
So, Amy, where can people find out about you? Tell us a little bit more about your Twitter handles, Instagram, all that type of stuff if people want to follow you.
Absolutely. So our biggest is on YouTube. So Physical Therapy for Everybody on YouTube, PT4EB is our biggest thing. We're on Facebook, obviously, at the same, and Instagram. And yeah, I'd love to, especially if you're interested in a job, I'd definitely love to have you reach
Everybody's
out.
looking for staff. Yeah. But yeah, if
Yeah,
you are in around that area, get in touch. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say, even if you hear this and you're thinking about starting your own business or you're not sure what to do next, it's a great community to reach out to, because there's a lot of business owners who are looking for good people too. And if you're not quite ready to make that step, I know that there's people in this community who are monitoring and helping mentor
Yes.
the next generation of business owners as well. And that can be a great relationship too. So something to think
Amazing.
about.
Thank you. We've loved it. A great discussion. It's one of my favorite topics of life, challenging beliefs and habits, and just challenging things that we've all been taught that don't serve us well. So I've loved this podcast, and I'm sure it'll help a lot of people. Thank you, Amy. And
Thank you.
I'll see you in a few weeks in New Jersey.
Sounds good.
See you then. All right. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you. Thanks, Amy.
Bye.
See you.